Good morning, good morning, good morning. Very stupid o'clock to all. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. And folks, nobody should be awake at this hour. Nobody. Just call me insane. Because it's true. It's true. Not the point. So, we are going back this morning to that horrible world that we know as the JRC. But before we get started, I just wanted to have a little bit of a rant. Now, I am very pro-vaccine. Absolutely. Here's my question, though. You have disabled people, right, who are very limited in regards to transportation. At the very least. So now we are having more and more mandates come down. So my question to the president would be, for those of us who don't have ready transportation available, for those of us that have limited windows to arrange transportation, if we are able to at all, what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do so that they are able to get vaccinated? I don't know if we need to encourage maybe starting, vaccination carpools, something, anything. There is a population of people who are not being considered at all in regards to these vaccination mandates. And that does need to change. Not everybody can just, after work, go and drive to a Walmart or what have you and go ahead and get vaccinated. You have people with transportation problems, and we need to start thinking about them and not just putting it out of sight, out of mind. Okay, I've said my piece on that. The disability community, some of us do need help getting vaccinated. It is not as simple as it would be with your day-to-day individual. I understand the mandates, but when it comes to those with transportation issues and needs, you gotta meet us halfway, government. You gotta meet us halfway so we can get our vaccinations done. But moving on, as I was saying, we are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But a few disclaimers before we get going this morning. First off, you are going to find the link to the article that we are going over right there in the description, as well as the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shock campaign. Templates are in there. You know what these templates are about, folks. You fill out your name, click on your senator. It is a restriction against all inappropriate restraint in the schools. Judge Rotenberg Center is hardly the only place where we have lost lives due to improper and abusive restraint. Get it done. Also, we have the Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Get it signed, people. We need this place closed if these students are ever going to be safe. Also, it is, let's see here, 3:56 a.m. in the morning. God, why do I do this to myself? So, if I stumble over any words this morning, my apologies in advance, alright? Okay, so back to where we left off yesterday. We are going over the victims of the April 26, 2007 incident. And remember, as of yesterday, it seemed like the judge was doing a whole lot of victim blaming. Like, yes, this incident was unfortunate, but look at the students. No, Judge, no. Anyways, so we are going to Mark Poe is the next one. The former student who called into JRC was 16 years old at the time of the incident and was a native of New York. JRC intake forms indicated staff feared Mark Poe's behavior was dangerous, based on his apparent lack of a conscience or remorse for his abusive actions. Oh, gee, the staff was afraid of a student with abusive behaviors. The staff was afraid of someone who lacked conscience or remorse for his abusive actions. I got one thing to say to you, JRC. Pot kettle. Just saying. Direct care staff also indicated significant fear of Mark Poe and his potential for violent behavior. The psychiatric evaluator believed Mark Poe was capable of causing significant harm inside and outside the JRC community. Upon monitor's request, JRC provided Mark Poe's student file, which did not include a copy of his behavior modification treatment plan or program description. On August the 16th, 2007, Mark Poe went to New York with JRC staff to take his regents examinations and walked out of the testing site. The JRC staff filed a report with police but did not know where Mark Poe was at the time of the August 26, 2007 incident. He was officially discharged from JRC on September 12, 2007. Paul No, the third student, was 15 at the time of the incident. Oh, Jesus Christ. It was a native of New York. Paul No's January 11, 2007 amended behavior modification plan indicates that he was diagnosed with mood disorder and conduct disorder, child onset at JRC. Oh, yay. I'm going to trust a diagnosis by those fuckers. Yeah. Really? Really? Anything that will excuse you using those freaking shock collar devices for disabled people, right, JRC? At that time, his behavior concerns were aggressive behavior. Yeah, I know what you consider aggressive. Like, me speaking up for myself? Health dangerous behavior. You mean like blinking? Destroying behavior. Oh, you mean when I slam my hand on my desk because you all are illogical, crazy, abusive fucks? Major disruptive behavior. Again, calling you out on your bullshit. Non-compliance behavior. Refusing to comply with nonsensical demands. Educationally, socially interfering behavior. Oh, you mean when I ask to go to the bathroom more than once because your dumbass won't answer the question? And inappropriate verbal behavior. Me cussing like a sailor? Do something about it, JRC. Oh, that's right, you're not in Missouri. GED was removed from his program in 2006 due to changes in New York State regulations, thank God, during which time his non-compliant and major disruptive behaviors increased. Oh, wow. Wow. Gee, I wonder why. It couldn't be because, I don't know, you traumatized the hell out of him, and now that he's no longer under threat of violence from your asses, he now has to deal with the consequences of PTSD as well as behaviors he didn't have before your asses put him on a disabled shock collar. Gee. Paul No was put back on the GED device on June 23, 2006, after another change in the New York State regulations and due to his regression. Regression? Guess what? When you're traumatized and you're a fucking kid, guess what? When that threat of violence is removed, you suffer from this thing. It's called PTSD, and it does cause regression as well as other behaviors that weren't there before the trauma. God. I know more about freaking health than this judge. Who the hell do you think you are to be able to cast judgment on this based solely on what the JRC tells you? I know they're paying you. You've already stated that. At least you were honest about it, I guess. But I wonder, how much did they pay you to lay out this load of garbage? Obviously, I'm cranky in the mornings. His January 2007 plan requested authorization to use GED to treat Paul No's aggressive, health dangerous, destroying, major disruptive, and non-compliant behaviors. Oh, you mean all the things you say Jennifer Masumba was when she wasn't doing anything at all other than standing up for her rights? God, I hate these people. After the August 2007 incident, Paul No was taken off the GED. Thank God. Paul No was eventually discharged in November 2007. I would be very interested in hearing his survivor's story and his side. Just saying. Direct care and monitor staff backgrounds. Direct care staff. 6 direct care staff were working at the Stoughton residence during the early morning hours of August 26, 2007. CG, a high crisis intervention security specialist, was working an 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift. Jesus Christ. A mental health assistant was working 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. shift. A weekend supervisor was working 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift. All 3 of these staff were scheduled as sleeping aides during the overnight hours. You all are giving them 24-hour shifts. How the hell is that even legal? I don't even like the people who consider working here, but Jesus. A mental health assistant was working 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. awake shift. Also, a mental health assistant was working a 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. awake shift. A mental health assistant, according to a human resources records, was working 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. as a shift supervisor. A 7th staff person who was scheduled shift supervisor had called out sick for the shift. At the time of the incident, Blank was 39 years old and had been working at JRC for 3 years and 10 months. Was 27 years old and had been working for JRC for 5 weeks. Was 36 years old and had been working at the JRC for 18 and a half months. And 23 years old and had been working for the JRC for 5 weeks. What kind of stomach and lack of conscience do you have to work for these people for that long? I would have been out in a day and then been whistleblowing like a crazy bitch. Just saying. Was 35 and had been working at the JRC for 11 weeks. 25 years old and has been working for the JRC for 11 weeks. All of these staff members, with the exception of Blank, were discharged during the week of October 2nd, 2007 for poor decision-making skills, for failing to react properly to a staff who gave 2 students a number of unwarranted GED applications, and for violating several JRC policies. Oh, spare me, Judge. Bullshit. Bullshit. They were fired so that the JRC could cover their ass. Period. You all were already under the magnifying glass for what happened to Andre McCollins. They didn't need anything more complicating their already battered image. So they did it to cover their ass, and they were trying to make it look like these incidents were few and far between and that these were particular staff and not the whole system. Because it is the system. Okay? Maybe I should not do these at 3:52 a.m. Was discharged for 2 students, a high number of GED applications at the command of a student pretending to be a DVR monitor. But let's not address the fact that the JRC creates a culture that the staff would have automatically did those shocks without even questioning the orders. This is the culture that you cultivated, JRC. Just in case you're wondering, Judge Bernstein. They create an environment where if the monitor calls you and tells you you need to pinpoint a behavior, if you don't, and you're an employee for the JRC, then you reap ramifications. This is the culture you created. You've got nobody to blame but yourself. And the only answer is close it down. DVR monitoring staff. 3 DVR monitoring staff were working overnight shifts on August 26, 2007. Blank were all working at a 12 a.m., 8 a.m. shift as quality control monitors. Oh yeah, those sick bastards. At the time of the incident, Blank, who was responsible for viewing the Stoughton residence that night, was 39 years old. Who the hell cares how old they are, Judge? What the hell does that have to do with anything? Anyway, moving on. Just, why does that matter? Had worked for the JRC for 5 years and 8 months, and was 30 years old, and had been working at the JRC for 3 years and 4 months, and 39 years old, and has been working with JRC for 3 years and 11 months. Again, what does their age have to do with it, Judge? In April 2006, Blank was demoted from a quality control monitor to a high crisis intervention security specialist for taking an extended break. However, he was promoted back to quality control on February 16, 2007. Okay, so we will move to the summary of the so-called facts to this particular case tomorrow in the morning. But folks, I'm just seeing a lot of victim blaming, a lot of nonsensical information entered by this judge. What these people's ages were in regards to the incident, or how long they had worked there, I don't know why this is important to what happened during that incident. It's not. I don't care what these kids' backgrounds were. I don't care what their behavioral plans were. I don't care whatever excuses that this judge or the JRC that's paying him want to use in order to excuse the actions that were taken that night were. The fact of the matter is the JRC cultivated and nurtured the type of environment that allowed this situation to happen. I'll say it again. The JRC has created the culture, the mindset that in their employees that allowed this incident to happen. These employees were not singular. They didn't just make an honest mistake. Anybody who works in the field, if they received orders like that, would immediately question it, especially when it is given that excessive of amount of shocks to be used on a couple of students. Anybody would question it. Anybody would want to ask another supervisor, is this what's actually going on? What those staff's ages were, how long they worked there. Literally, none of that is relevant to what happened. None of it. None of it. You are defending a school and its practices. Its practices and its culture it has created to use adversives to modify undesirable behaviors that makes you uncomfortable. Adversives are abuse. Okay? Adversives are abuse. Food contingent programs are abuse. Sleep deprivation is abuse. And for the love of God, using shock on disabled students to modify behavior, my God, horrific abuse. The hell is wrong with you people? If you can't see that, Judge, if you cannot see that, then I am glad you are retired, and I hope to God nobody ever uses you to cover their own ass like this ever again. And with those final thoughts, folks, I'm going to go ahead and close out. But first, a little bit more on what I started this video with. I just want to make it clear. I am very much pro-vaccine when it comes to COVID shot. I absolutely am. 100%. My mom works in the hospitals. You all know this. I've been around hospitals my whole life. They're overflowing, and we are literally having to try to find spots in hospitals out of state right now. But with all these mandates coming down, we gotta start remembering the disabled people with limited transportation options. We have to. Okay? We can't be leaving them out in the cold and just cracking down on them with giving them no viable option to be able to actually go and get the damn vaccine. Okay? That's my concern. I want them absolutely to get the vaccine. If it's viable, absolutely, 100%. Make it so that it is available for them to be able to get to easily, is all I'm saying. All right, and I'll close out with that we don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. Feed that algorithm. And folks, don't bother to at me and get angry with me in my views in regards to this. Okay? Please don't. Become part of the solution. Create carpools in your local area that can get people with limited transportation with disabilities to vaccination sites to get it done. Okay? I do appreciate your time this morning, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.